moving implements I was able to do indoors in a heated facility. So I got super, super lucky with that. But
in Valhalla Barbell Club, is there usually like when you were going in to train, because you said that one is like a lock and key model, so you just go in anytime you want. Is that Barbell Club, is there usually like somebody else in there, even though they're doing a separate program, is there usually somebody else in there while you're training to like just kind of mutually suffer with, even though you guys aren't doing the same thing,
right.
You just can kind of look over and like, oh yeah, that guy's, having a hard time just like I am.
Sometimes there is. At the time, I was training more in the morning, and most people work and things like that, so they were unable to go at that time. I would say that the first year that first 6 months that I was there, it was pretty much alone.
Okay. I was just curious.
Much just me. I think I remember my very first workout that I ever did there. I posted and I said, even though I'm the only one here, I still feel the energy, and you still feel like a part of something. But it was really helpful. They had a lot of new equipment too that I couldn't have in my garage.
Ooh, that's
which was nice,
especially for strongman.
Yeah, especially for
strongman has so many different implements to use.
Just some of the equipment there was a huge benefit for my training, and for competing and stuff. So, but now it's still a group, and people try to post when they're going to be there so they can kind of be supportive and motivate each other. Yeah. But everybody's pretty much has their own program and their own goals that they're training for. So you don't really have that pressure of like, I don't know, it's more of a group that's like a family that kind of has their own part. Like you don't feel like I have to be better than this person and this person has to be better. Like everybody's doing their own thing. So there's no, there's no like, there's Highland Games athletes there, powerlifters, weightlifters, bodybuilders. So everyone's it's kind of the same as militia fitness in the sense that everyone's bringing their own programs in and then supporting each other and helping each other out. And then everyone's going home and, it's like, we're
together, but we're not, but we sort of are. Yeah.
So it was awesome being invited to be a part of that, because that facility, you have to be kind of invited, and you have to be of the right mindset and mentality, and you can't have really beginners in there who don't know how to lift, and you have to be more of an independent type of athlete. So when I was invited to be a part of that, it was really special.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Kind of like you said, it's about, even though you were in Valhalla Barbell Club alone a lot of times, it still felt like you were like kind of surrounded by a community, even though it's technically just as lonely as if being in the garage. But I've tried to do the garage thing before. I didn't have a lot of equipment. It was just like a barbell and some plates, but I don't know what it is. Because I trained most of my time here at CrossFit Wichita, when I trained, was alone. I mean, there'd be nobody here at all a lot of times. I don't know what it is, but I can just bring it a lot more at a facility that's like an actual fitness facility than I can at my garage. And I have a lot of respect for the people that can do it in the garages and still hit it hard. I just can't bring the same intensity at my garage. I don't know if it's just the fact that I know my family's, on the other side of the wall listening, or if it's just like, man, I could just call it right now and walk back inside and take a shower and eat. I don't know if it's just the proximity of having comfort so close, but something about going into an old brick building and just, this is where I'm going to put my time in and really hit it hard. It just, would you agree with that? There's just something about being at a facility, just kind of helps you bring it.
Definitely. I totally agree with that. And I can definitely feel it. I would say I'm pretty hybrid in that. I love having my own space. I love having, my equipment that, all the wear and tear on it is my hard work. There's a sense of, I don't know, like
ownership
in that. And I'm a very self-motivating individual. I
can tell.
I
can tell.
A lot. I mean, a lot of people aren't like that, unfortunately. No. I mean, they're not. And I'm aware of that. I'm going to push just as hard if you're watching me or if you're not watching me. I just am. I actually might push a little bit harder if no one's watching me. So I'm kind of hybrid in that sense. There was times where I didn't necessarily have to go to Valhalla to train, but I was just like, I'm just kind of in a slump, like change the atmosphere, let's go kick it down there. So, and I'm pretty hybrid in that, but I agree. There are a lot of people who just need to step away and, put in the work and then leave it at the door and come back and then be home. So I agree.
Yeah. Kind of like have a separation of their comfort zone and their let's hit it hard zone, their fight zone. Yeah. So let's get into the deets of strongman. Let's kind of talk about what a layout of a typical strongman competition looks like. And then let's also talk about your experiences at like the nationals and the Arnold and all that cool stuff. Because including myself, I have a general idea of what a strongman competition looks like, but just give us a broad view of what does a normal strongman competition look like.
Yeah. So with the sport, it is a progression. So you qualify locally, and then if you win locally, you qualify nationally. Nationally, you qualify for Worlds, and they actually call it the U.S. team. So you would be on Team USA for strongman, which is really cool. So strongman events, they are, competitions. There's normally 5 events. I've never competed in a competition besides Worlds that didn't have 5 events. So if you think about that, it's not that many, and especially if most events are a minute or less. So that was kind of hard to conceptualize. I'm putting in all this work and all this blood, sweat, and tears for 5 minutes of work. Like let's just think about that for a second. 5 minutes.
I'm just laughing because Mike is here as well listening to the podcast, and he's in powerlifting, which is like a total of 9 seconds.
Yeah. So you normally have 5 events, and no competition for me has ever been the same. You'll normally have very similar movements. You'll have normally some type of deadlift, whether it's a car deadlift, regular barbell deadlift, axle deadlift. I've pulled an 18-inch deadlift, which is normally they put the tires on and make it look really cool, and you pull kind of elevated.
So some type of heavy pull off the floor.
Heavy pull, yeah. Yep. You'll definitely have some moving events for sure. You'll have a farmer's carry or a yoke run.
Okay. So some type of A to B.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A to B. You'll have, I would say for the most part, a medley too, where it's multiple carries.
Okay.
So carry this sandbag from point A to point B, run back, grab this keg, point A to point B, come back, grab these farmer bars, point A to point B, fastest time wins.
And usually what are the timelines on those events?
Sub 60 seconds.
Okay. So they're short distance and heavy. Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to move. And normally not everybody finishes. So not everybody will finish the whole event, and they'll measure distance. So that's something to think about. Like you don't have to be able to complete the whole event to still be good at it. There's been many people that don't complete events and still win. One event doesn't define you as an athlete in that competition. And then, of course, there's always pressing, which is my all-time favorite. So any kind of circus dumbbell, log press, axle bar pressing, keg pressing.
Ooh, those are hard.
Yeah, they're really hard. Pretty rare, but Viking press is one of them.
What's a Viking press?
Viking press is like, I don't know how to explain it.
Is that the one
it's
with
like
the 2 landmines?
Like 2 landmines, and you press it overhead. It's pretty rare.
I've actually done those here and there, but I didn't realize those would ever be in a competition.
Yeah,
they seem like an accessory movement.
It's not. I mean, it would be pretty heavy, but
I can't imagine doing that heavy. Oh, that sounds horrible.
Yeah. And then some of the staple CrossFit events would be like a truck pull or fire truck pull for the heavy guys. Atlas stones, so loading concrete stones to different platforms at different heights. Yeah. That's pretty staple. If you ever catch World's Strongest Man on TV, you're probably going to see him lift a stone.
Is that usually like a time thing too? Like they have to lift like 5 stones in 60 seconds, and they're
fastest
heavier
wins,
and different heights and stuff?
Yep, so fastest time would win for that. I'm trying to think. So an H stone, which is kind of like a tombstone shaped stone.
Yeah.
That would be a 4 distance event. So I had that at my last nationals, which was in Las Vegas, that I competed at. One of the events was max distance H stone carry.
Is that in a time frame, or is that just like until you
go until you basically pass out, which I did. So
you did pass out.
Yeah, I did. It was 2 events I kind of passed out on, and that was a really hard competition for me. But yeah, so that one, you just pick up the stone. I think my weight was 200 pounds.
Oof.
And you pick it up, and you just carry it in front of you until you cannot go any further. Oof. So you go down 50, you turn, You turn.
Oh, and you have to turn?
And you got to turn,
Oh, man, that's even worse.
So there's a ton of strategy in that event. It's extremely simple in the concept, but do you want to go fast or do you want to go slow? Like, how do you, because time under tension, there's a lot, it depends on the athlete.
Yeah.
There's a lot of strategy with
What do
that.
you like to do on those usually?
Well, yeah, with that one, I don't sprint, but I go at a pretty steady pace. So when I first would take off the line, that was my best event at nationals that year. But when I start off the line, everyone's gonna beat me. So it automatically looks like I'm losing.
Yeah.
But then they'll drop. They'll drop after 3 passes or 4 passes, and
so like 200 feet.
Yeah, and I'm still kicking it. I think I hit like 360 feet until I dropped it. Yeah, so. Grip strength, because you're holding this up in front of you.
Are you holding it are you grabbing your wrist?
Hugging it.
Okay, so you're like grabbing your arm and just squeezing it in.
It's so big you can't reach all the way.
Oh, you can't. So you're just grabbing the object and holding it.
Yeah. So there's a little bit of strategy in how you hold it. Some people do a kind of an under and they'll reach over the top of it, like an over-under deadlift. So some of them try to achieve that kind of way. Some of them will tilt it. I mean, you'll see all different types of way to hold
Sounds
this
uncomfortable.
event. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Your arms will be bruised up because the corners are sharp. And,
yeah.
So, yeah, that's one event that's a little different because it's for distance and not for time.
Yeah. Actually, you might remember this. I don't know. Actually, I think last time we saw each other was at our CrossFit Wichita Old Town Throwdown event. And one of the events outside, and I didn't know this was a strongman, I knew it was a move. I didn't know it was an event though. Was a max distance sandbag carry.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Just you set it down.
Yeah.
And, to give everybody an understanding of how heavy 200 pounds is, we had programmed 200 pounds for the boys. We had a 200-pound sandbag for the boys. The girls were using a 140, which is really heavy for the girls. So now I'm thinking of okay, it's not even a sandbag; it's a tombstone.
Yeah.
And it's 200 pounds. That is really, really heavy.
Yeah.
That's really heavy. Yeah. That's impressive. 300-something feet. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, and these girls, so that weight class, we also have weight classes. So just to put it into even more perspective, these girls weighed in at 140 pounds.
Oh, my gosh.
So they're already carrying 60 pounds over what they weighed in.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so it's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive to me.
Definitely impressive. So that's kind of how the events or the competitions are structured. You'll have 5 different events, and they'll rotate through. Females normally go first. They'll rotate through all your male athletes and then circle back around to the next event. And your accumulation score is what places you. And
you said that these events are hardly ever the same.
Correct.
Kind of like a CrossFit competition. It's always going to be different. And do you like that, or do you feel like sometimes it's kind of like luck of the draw? Let's say you're going to nationals and you're like, oh man, I really hope they have this event structured this way. And sometimes it just doesn't draw well for you.
Yeah.
I mean, do you like having, not knowing what's going to happen, or?
It's a love-hate.
Yeah.
I love it for the local events because normally the weights are a little bit more doable. My first Arnold, I was still competing as a middleweight, and I had an axle deficit deadlift for reps. And I'm just not a good deadlifter. I can pull sumo great, but sumo's not really allowed in strongman. You have to pull conventional, and I'm just not. My legs are long, and my
uncomfortable
arm,
position to get into.
I'm just not really good at it. And I had to pull 365 for reps from a deficit on an axle.
No way.
And I was just, you look at that event, and you can let it defeat you. You can, and I definitely saw it, and my stomach kind of turned a little bit.
My stomach's turning just thinking about it.
That's not going to be real fun. But
and you're weighing how much at that event?
I was a middleweight. Which at Worlds, the weight classes kind of change a little bit from nationals to Worlds. But for Worlds, as a middleweight, you can weigh I think it would be anything over 140 to 180 pounds.
Oh, that's a huge.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like a huge, what would you call it? Like gap, I guess?
So they subclass it for nationals. So at nationals, you'll be 140 to 160.
Okay, that's a little bit more
and then 160
reasonable.
To 180. Yeah. So then they'll take the top athletes from those subclasses and make one big class for Worlds.
Were you in the 140 to 160 on that event?
I was so in the 160s.
You were less than 160 then.
Yeah.
And you were pulling 365 from a deficit with axle.
It was that was the goal. I will say that I did not pull it that year. I did not. That was my first year at the Arnold, and I did not make a rep for that event. And there was a lot of females who didn't pull.
I would imagine. I mean, I'm